This vehicle doesn't have a headlight switch on the stock or anything like that. All the headlights are controlled here on the screen. And basically what you can do, there's a shortcut here. It's in the settings, but there's a shortcut here. Quickly go into it, and then you can go off, automatic, parking lights, and then the headlights on here. Now if you want fog lights, you hit this button into controls and go into the fog lights here. So that's a separate little screen. If you want more lighting options, you go into the controls here or here, and then you go to see more controls, and then it says lights. And then you have the dome light, the fog lights, automatic high beams. We'll go ahead and turn those on, and then the headlight control there. To the left of the steering column, there is a dimmer switch here, and it controls the gauge cluster, but also the screen and other lights as well. So we'll kind of raise and lower it so you can see what it does. It has a slight delay, so as I roll it, it will slowly fade in and out. And it's the backlit buttons, the screens, pretty much everything right here in front of you. When you walk up to the vehicle with the key, it has a proximity key system. And as you approach it, it'll sense the key because it'll let you lock and unlock the door. But it's not going to turn on any exterior lights automatically. When I hit the unlock button, we have some lights flashing here, and there's a little bit of an animation sequence I'll show you. Here in the front, go ahead and unlock it. You can see it flashes a light. It has a little bit of a motion there on the light, and then it turns the headlights on. Kind of cool. Here in the back, hit the unlock button, flashes, and then once again has a little bit of a animation there before it turns everything on. And I like the way it turns on the reverse light until you get in the vehicle. It just gives you additional light around the vehicle as you approach it. This is nice. But there's no approach lights, there's no exterior lights there on the sides to help you navigate the ground to get to the vehicle. There is these side markers here, which is pretty cool though. Now I had these parking lights on, and parking lights are basically just these daytime running lights here on the outside. They're not overly bright. You're not going to mistake these as headlights or anything, but they look cool. Now there is a amber side marker here on the front, here on the left side. There's also these side markers, which I love these. Being able to have other cars see you from the side a little bit better, having additional lights. Most vehicles don't have additional lights here on the side. They just have side markers in the tail light and then the headlight housing. So there's the side marker there, and the tail lights are red in color, nice soft glow, bright enough though. They look really good. Tag lights are also on now. Turn signal here in the front has a little bit of a swoopy motion to it. I don't know if you can see that. Bring down the brightness a little bit, but it's amber in color and basically takes that white light and turns it a bright amber. So it flashes on and then it kind of like fades over to the left there, or to the right. In this case, we're looking at it and to the right, but yeah, it's pretty cool. It has like a bright flash and then that swoopy, real fast animation there. So there's no turn signal indicator on the side mirror or anything like that. A lot of vehicles have one there. For some reason, this one doesn't have it. And the turn signal here in the back. Once again, we had that little swoopy motion going on. It's red turn signal, and it basically fills in the tail light there. So yeah, pretty good. Looks is large as far as the size of the light, so you're able to see it. Has the immediate on and then a little fade out. Pretty cool. There's also a third brake light at the top of the glass here, and the reverse lights we saw before, they're integrated into the tail lights. You can also turn on the fog lights if you want with the parking lights, and it's a little projector right there. You can see it. It's in that low position, real tight LED. But yeah, you can have those on with the parking lights if you want. Okay, so now I have the headlights on. It's on low beams, and we're gonna see what it looks like going on a dark road as well. So we're just looking at the technology right now. It is a multi-projector, so there's two projectors here. This top one is your low beam. The other one is illuminated, but it's really for your high beams. It'll illuminate a little bit, but it doesn't really come to life until you turn on the high beams. So your low beams are on top, high beams are on the bottom. Let me step back here a little ways, see where the cutoff is. All right, so it's about 2.5 feet off the ground. And so down here is where most of the light is. Up here I can look directly at the headlights. It's not blinding me at all. Now let's go to the high beams here. All right, so the high beams turn off the fog lights. And then now we have these projectors. You see this lower one is now much brighter. So they're both basically illuminated properly. So yeah, looking pretty good. The cargo area has two lights, one on each side. So you can see this one is in more lower position. Then you have a higher light over here, slightly higher. But it doesn't, it kind of like shines there in the middle. There's a lot of dark areas, especially if you have something in the middle that casts a shadow. But as you can see, there's a lot of dark areas in here. These lights are kind of, they like shining my eyes more than they do in the cargo area. So yeah, I mean, over here it's okay, but especially with the black interior, I think these lights can be a little bit brighter. Maybe add one under here or something as like a floodlight, especially if you need to look inside of a case or something. These are kind of like in this low position, so not gonna be ideal. So yeah, that definitely could be improved here for the cargo area lighting, for sure. The inside of the back door, there's no puddle light, no approach light, nothing like that. There's actually no lights here in the door except for the power window switch, just showing you where that is. There's no pocket lights or anything, no ambient lights. And then the lights back here are just, there's one on each side of the sunroof basically, and it shines in the lap area here. So not in the passenger's face, in their lap, and also on the floorboard. So basically if you're sitting in the seat and you're holding something right here, you have a bright light to see it. So, you know, you don't really need lights in your face, but being able to see on the floor and then in your lap area in front of you is good. There is some USB ports here and they're slightly backlit. I don't know if you can see that. So the front door, there's no puddle light, no approach light. Now this is the off-road, you know, like take it on trails type edition. So having a puddle light would be nice. So you can see what you're stepping in when you get out of the vehicle. Approach light would be even nicer. But once again, we don't have any kind of pocket lights or anything. We just have backlit buttons here, here, and here. Everything else is dark. There's no floorboard illumination here in the front. And the lights here in the front are very, once again, they're going for the area right there in front of the driver and passenger. You can see it's not quite as bright and not quite as useful here in the front because there's a lot more things to see here in the front, as we'll get to. Okay, so I have the door open and the interior lights are on. I don't know if you can tell. You can see a little bit of light there on the seat. That's how you can tell that the interior lights are on. So let's go ahead and shut the door. Interior lights fade out. And so we're left with backlit buttons. And I have the dimmer switch all the way up. So all the way up, all the way down. So let me increase the brightness on the camera here so you can see a little bit better. All right, so yeah, it's a little bit brighter than my eyes see, just so you can see what's going on because it's getting really dark because there's not much light here. So the floorboard is dark and all that stuff. We have this compartment here, which is dark. We do have backlit USBs. The screen looks really good. The screen is nice, especially the navigation map. And let's look at the camera. Yeah, that's looking good. Let me turn the brightness down so you can see what it looks like, yeah. Camera's looking good, which this parking lot is not that dark. But yeah, it's fine. Hadn't had any problem with it, even in dark areas. Okay, so there's backlit buttons here. Gauges are fine. Okay, so compartment here is dark. Cup holders are dark. Where you put your cell phone's dark. The center console is dark. Can't even see what I'm talking about because let me try to turn the interior light on. Okay. So yeah, even with the interior lights on, well, I just turned on both these lights here. This compartment here is dark. I mean, it has a little light, technically, but it fades out. It's just kind of like shines here at the top, but down here at the bottom, like I have stuff in there and you can't even see it. So there's my headphones, and I have my business cards there at the bottom. But yeah, the light's up here, but down here it's not. So it doesn't shine down in the compartment. So yeah, it's might as well just not have a light really. So that can definitely be improved. So yeah, with the interior lights on, it's not even really, I mean, it's helping a little bit here, but that compartment, it's not. Look in the glove compartment, of course, no light. Yeah, so no light, and even with the interior lights on, they don't really shine in there that great, so that definitely needs to be improved there. Now this one does have the rear view camera, which is great. Be able to see behind the vehicle. It does have an auto dim rear view mirror as well, but the rear view camera is excellent day and night. You can see behind the vehicle all the time, even if you have a bunch of passengers back there or cargo. All right, I have backlit buttons here, and it has these like tap lights, and basically the interior lights, that's what the interior lights are. They're just these lights that turn on. So you can have these individual lights on, and they do a decent job of not shining in my face as a driver, and they shine like right here. So if you're reading a map or something, you have good visibility. But yeah, like other things like floorboard, glove compartment, this center compartment, they don't really solve that problem. There's also this little light right here, and if you follow it down, let me turn this off so you can see it. All right, so this little light right here, if you follow that down, it helps give you a little bit of moonlight right here. So when it's super dark, it helps you just kind of get your bearings here, which you're actually kind of getting more light from the screen sometimes than that. But it does help out a lot. When it's super dark, that light does do a good job. Okay, so the visor has lights with a mirror, and they do a decent job of not blinding me. They're kind of soft, but bright enough to where they can illuminate my face and stuff. Okay, so there's the light pattern on some trees, and you'll notice that right there on this side right here is kind of dipped down a little bit lower than the other side, and that's intentional to help avoid blinding oncoming drivers. So basically they call it a notch, or a just a little space that's supposed to line up with the oncoming lane, basically. But other than that, it's a clear cutoff. So I have the automatic high beams turned on, so we'll see how well they work. Not very optimistic sometimes with automatic high beams, but we'll see. Now it seems like a lot of them are too cautious, and that's really, lately that's been really the problem, that not really flashing other cars as much anymore. It's more so that you're on a dark road and you can't see anything because the high beams won't turn on for too long, So, it's one of those things where, it's just, sometimes it's just best to use it on your own. Now, if you're on an open highway or something like that, and you're just kind of cruising or whatever, automatic high beams can be good. But, some back roads where you really have to look out for deer, there's times in which the headlights will, on most vehicles anyway, will dim just because it sees a reflector or some light on the side of the road to the low beams, and there's like just a dark abyss in front of you otherwise. And so there could be deer, there could be anything in front of you and you wouldn't even know it. So on back roads, probably a good idea to go and just manually do your high beams, and that way you can make sure you have visibility at all times. So right now the low beams are looking good. We have a little bit of traffic here, and so the notch basically is somewhat in my lane, it looks like. Yeah, it's a little bit in my lane, but mostly on that oncoming lane. I think you can see it pretty good right now. And so we're not getting any lights on this vehicle in front of me. But yeah, you can see that shadow is on like half in my lane, but mostly on the oncoming lane. So you can see as the vehicle kind of bounces around, that cutoff kind of moves up and down. So with that notch, or that basically low spot on the oncoming lane, it kind of helps out with that. Also, when it's raining, there's some glare that comes up from reflections on the road, that kind of stuff. So it's basically all vehicles. Okay, so we can see that notch now. You can see it's still a little bit more in my lane, but yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's okay. Preferably it'd be all in that lane and not my lane, but Because if on a straight road, if it's in my lane a little bit, then when we're doing cornering and, you know, turns and curves and stuff, then it's going to be basically all in my lane, and it's going to block my visibility to some degree with the low beams on. So yeah, I can see on the sides of the road are fine. Just overall, the visibility is fine, close up and far away. And I probably need to go ahead and turn off the fog lights. Yeah, we'll go ahead and turn those off right now. Turn them on later. Okay, so the automatic high beams just turned on, interestingly enough. Turn back off. Okay. So yeah, let's just turn off the automatic high beams. So I have a little bit of control here. Okay, so there's the fog lights on, fog lights off, on, off. So you can see it's closer to the vehicle. Now let's go to the high beams here, manually. So yeah, low beams, high beams. Okay, yeah, I mean, that additional light turning on really does help out a lot. Yeah, I can see the trees in the distance. The distance on the road is good. There's not a lot of patchiness or anything going on, so it's pretty good as far as that goes. See how that notch is now in my lane, like all the way, because I'm turning. See, it's like cutting off. But anyways, high beam solves that problem. Okay, so yeah, we can see. Yeah, I can see pretty good. They're not like super wowing me or anything, but they're definitely adequate headlights. And the distance on the side is really good too. Now this road, I choose this road because it has these trees that are off the road quite a bit. And so it's a little bit of a challenge for headlights. So I can see how far the lights go on the side as well as in front of me and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's looking good. Low beams and the high beams, I would definitely be satisfied with these. And I like the fact that it has an additional light. It's not trying to refocus a single light for high beams. It actually turns on more light. So yeah. You know, maybe a slight adjustment with that notch on the low beams, which it's not a huge deal, but other than that, it's looking good. Slight, when we're going uphill, I notice a little bit of a patchiness, but when we're on level road, it's fine. It's looking good. I think the pattern is really good. I think the brightness is where it's a little bit lacking. I think it could be just both low and high beams could be a little bit brighter, but as it is, they're okay because they get kind of overshadowed by other lights and stuff. But when it's really dark, you do get to see, you know, the road fine. So yeah, you can, like, one of these little street lights right here, you can't even tell if the low or the high beams are on because they're not that bright, you know, but it does have a good pattern. And the illumination is adequate, but I would prefer a little bit brighter, especially the high beams, because that's where you need those when it's really dark. And this is a, you know, AT4 all-terrain off-road, you know, styled vehicle anyway. So yeah, having additional lights for like approach lights, puddle lights, brighter headlights, better cargo light, stuff like that would help out. You know, interior lights that are better here on the front, pocket lights that are better. You know, those type of things I would prefer, especially with a vehicle that's kind of marketed as like an off-road type package. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, there's not a lot of street lights out in the middle of the nowhere, right? so yeah. But yeah, I think that, you know, just in addition just to the lights, you know, some of the things that make me wish was better is the suspension system. It's a little bit bouncy for my taste, and also the outside of the lights. Okay, I could stay focused on the lights, but because there's a lot to say there. But bounciness of the suspension, also the wandering of the steering wheel while I'm driving. Also, the torque steer is an issue as well. even though it's all-wheel drive. You'd think that it would have a little bit more power going to the rear wheels to eliminate that when you accelerate, but it's a lot of torque steer. You know, it's definitely noticeable anyway. But yeah, so there's some things to improve. You know, for this, the price of this vehicle and what it's designed to do, the stated goal is not 100. It could be improved. The stated goal could be achieved better. If this is going to be an off-road type vehicle, or just a vehicle that you're going to use, you're going to be able to have to look in the pockets and the glove compartment and stuff, and there's plenty of other vehicles that are half this price that have those lights. They're much cheaper vehicles and they have those lights. So, not sure what's going on with the trend with automotive lighting, but it seems like in the last 10 years or so, it's just slowly getting worse on some vehicles, especially expensive ones. It doesn't make any sense. Like some really expensive $100,000 vehicles have like really horrible headlights, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But yeah, anyways, there's a lot to say about this vehicle. And so I have the daytime video, this is the nighttime video, and you can look at, I try to make nighttime videos on as many vehicles as I can, but I'm not always able to do it. But you can search my channel for different nighttime videos, daytime, very detailed videos is my intention. And so like if a vehicle is basically the same as it was last year and it was before and the year before, and it's just like the same vehicle for 3 years on end, then I won't go into every little detail again necessarily. I'll just kind of hit you with the highlights, give you some overviews. But there is probably, if I do that, like if I have a short video on a vehicle, that means I have the original video goes over everything, so I have multiple videos on the same vehicle, maybe different years, maybe different trim levels, that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's the exact same vehicle, but I'm just kind of hitting it from a different angle, that kind of stuff. So something to consider. Check out my channel. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.